I want to bring in General Hurdling here. General, this is black and white. This is as black and white as it can be. I know you understand this more than I ever will. But these issues came up in the Armed Services Committee. These issues came up during the Iraq War. These issues came up during Vietnam. You know about it all too well. If you commit an illegal act in uniform, then you're going to face consequences. So the fact that Donald Trump and press secretaries and Republicans are running around saying that Democrats could be hung for simply saying, you can't do Abu Ghraib, you can't do My Lai, you can't commit illegal acts, you don't follow illegal orders. I mean, it's stunning to me, especially with the history of what we learned growing up. I mean, how many times did people say after World War II, we were just following orders? Well, the message in America is don't follow illegal orders. And that's at the core, is it not, of the discipline and the duty that men and women in uniform that you have trained, that you have led? Isn't that at the core of their beliefs?
It is absolutely at the core, Joe, and it begins the first day of basic training for soldiers. Sailors, airmen, Marines, at whatever branch you're in, it becomes an element of the first thing you do as an officer when you join ROTC or go to West Point. I mean, I remember taking the oath to defend the Constitution, but also to take the obligation willingly without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and well and faithfully execute the duties of my office, which were, first of all, making sure the soldiers didn't do anything legal, but also to ensure that I didn't give any illegal orders. And Joe, you've mentioned a bunch of major incidents like My Lai or Abu Ghraib or several others. There's a movie out right now that I've seen, a great movie about Nuremberg. It was the basis for the criminal trial of most of the Germans after World War II, the German officer corps, because they did do illegal things, and their excuse was, I was just following orders of Hitler. Well, that's not an excuse. Sorry, you still did the illegal act, and it's against what we believe as a professional military. You know, Joe, it's fascinating. I mentioned on X yesterday that there were times when I was given orders that I considered to be illegal. And when my JAG officer cleared them up, or when we determined that they were borderline, I went to my bosses who gave me those orders and says, we can't do this, we have to change this. So this is not just a major incident kind of thing. This happens in every war. And it happens a lot to commanders and officers where they have to clarify what an order says. I even remember back in the 2016 presidential campaign where I was on a different cable TV channel, and I was asked about the candidate Trump's statement about stealing oil from land or killing the families of terrorists. And I said both of those are illegal. They violate the laws of land warfare, and they are illegal acts to commit. So you have to always be careful about giving orders that do that. And it all relates back to every member of the military on the first day in uniform, swear an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestics. The enlisted personnel take it one step further in their oath. There are two different oaths. And they say, and I will obey the orders of the president and the orders of the officers appointed over me. The officers take a different oath. It says nothing about obedience. It says defending the Constitution and then taking the obligation willingly without any mental reservation. So the founders and our Constitution implied the fact that these two different oaths are guardrails against exactly the kind of things that some of the members of Congress and some, like the press secretary and the president, are saying are seditious. I'd add one more thing. It is especially troubling to me that Senator Graham is the one that's making a big fuss about this because he's a lawyer. He was a JAG lawyer in the U.S. Air Force Reserve. He spent snippets of time with me in Iraq when I was there for longer deployments, and he was part of the legal team in the headquarters in Baghdad. So he should know better. He is an officer himself.
Yeah, Lindsey knows better. I mean, that's what's so pathetic about it. It's sad. I know Lindsey, and I've known Lindsey for a long time. He's been a friend. But Lindsey knows better. These Republicans on Capitol Hill know better. Saying, like, getting angry at anybody for telling troops don't commit illegal acts. It's just nonsensical. And then Donald Trump, because he's trying to distract from the Epstein files, he's trying to distract from the fact that he has the lowest approval rating that he's had in the second term. He's trying to distract from the fact that Democrats have the largest generic ballot lead that I can remember in my lifetime, 54-41. He's trying to distract from the fact that only 1 in 3 Americans say that they think Donald Trump is handling the government the right way. You can go on and on and on. But again, go back to the Epstein file, something that he wants to desperately take off from it. So what do? You just say, hey, these senators should be executed because they're actually stating law that you can't commit illegal actions. It's very simple unless you're very stupid,
well, you have
or unless you're just following the orders of the strong man.
You have to
on cable news channels. On cable news channels, you're not that stupid, folks. You know, there's like romper room. I can put up my mirror and I can see through you. You're not that stupid. Stop blindly going along with this. Same thing with Republicans. And come on, Lindsey, you of all people know that troops cannot commit illegal actions, and you should be saluting your colleagues for telling them don't commit illegal actions.
Great point.